Hello, everybody. Earlier this afternoon, I met with Tim Miles to inform him that he was being relieved of his duties as the head basketball coach for our men's program. The meeting was extremely cordial, relatively short. I talked and praised him for many things that he did. I love his passion, his energy, his charisma, his integrity. But in the end, I didn't feel that we were competing the way that I want our programs to compete in the Big Ten Conference. So we will begin the search for our new coach. Don't know how long that's going to take. I think we can attract top coaches at the University of Nebraska with what we have, facility-wise, and certainly the infrastructure and such, and our passionate fan base, that we can move this program up to competing consistently in the Big Ten. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Bill, was there a game or a moment that turned the tide for you in terms of keeping Tim around?
Well, I was as excited as anybody the way we got out of the chute. Early in the season, some great wins, marquee wins. We were in the top 25. I made the trip to Indiana. It was a great thrill, and we played super, as you remember. I don't think we trailed in that entire game. And I really thought, hey, this is it. And then, we all saw it. We came back and put it all out on the floor against Michigan State and lost a heartbreaker there. And then, in my opinion, it started to go from there. And we had the injury situation with Copeland. I think we lost some leadership there on the floor, probably in the locker room. I did meet with the team, or not with the team, but with the coaching staff, just to ease them, a little bit after that. And the snowball continued to roll the wrong way. We were 3-11 in the last of our regular season games in the Big Ten. And I do applaud the comeback and gutsy performance against Iowa. And that showed a lot, and also in the Big Ten tournament, and then with the win over Butler in the NIT. But at the end of the day, I just didn't feel that we were in that groove to be competitive year in and year out.
Any kind of idea what you want to have for a timeline as far as bringing a new coach in?
Well, this is March Madness. Lots of dominoes start falling around. I'm going to guess it'd probably take 14 days. I don't like them to go much longer than that. But again, I think we can step in and compete with anybody in what we've got to offer here at Nebraska.
Bill, this is the third straight head coach of Nebraska that's failed to get it done. I know you weren't around for the first two, but from your awareness of the situation, what do you think needs to change to get Nebraska over the hump?
Well, again, I hear, well, Nebraska's a football school, and we've never gotten it done in basketball, and when we have, it hasn't been consistent. And what's it going to take? Well, you look at our facilities, Pinnacle Bank Arena, and our practice facilities, Hendricks. You look at the infrastructure and all the things we have to offer for student athletes, our tremendous reputation academically and life skills. It's pretty good. It's about as good as there is. And we're in a great conference, a very prestigious conference, both athletically and academically. And then, I bring this up at the end, but it maybe should be in the beginning, our passionate fan base. You look at where we rank in attendance and have even in some really off years, it's pretty impressive. So I look at Nebraska. People say, why Nebraska? I say, why not? I think we got the leadership in place. I know we do within the department and around campus that we can attract a coach that has experience, hopefully at our level. I think that we can be attractive to those kind of candidates, and that certainly is where I'm going to start.
Could you elaborate more on like the evaluation process you took in this decision?
Well, I told Tim a year ago when I added the year to his contract that what I wanted to see was stability and consistency. In 2014, a really good season with some very good players coming back. It didn't pan out. And basically, in the end, it didn't pan out this year either.
Do you feel like you're close to finding a coach?
No.
Would it surprise you if it took less than 7 days to get a new head coach?
Yes. I'm no young pup standing here. I mean, I'd be the first to admit that. And I do have a network and I do have connections. And those have already been tapped into.
Do you have a preference for qualities that you're looking for in a new coach, style of play, things like that?
Well, first of all is the basics of all of our coaches here. Integrity, genuine caring for the student athlete's well-being, to follow the rules, good recruiter, fits the community and the department and the university in general. All those things have to be right. And then the style of play, I've been known when I've hired coaches, and even some that are here now, entertain the fan base while you're building the program. And in the sport of men's basketball, I believe in defense, but we got to get the ball out. We got to be scoring. We like to shoot the three, play with some discipline, of course. But the game today and the ones that are winning it are lighting that scoreboard up, and that's something that certainly we'll be looking for.
Bill, how many candidates have you spoken to?
How many have I spoken to? I don't know if all of them are candidates, but I've talked to 3 or 4 already.
Is Fred Hoiberg one of them?
I've talked to Fred just to gauge his interest.
What is his interest?
Well, I don't really have a true answer on that yet, but Fred, as you know, is not currently coaching, so there's I typically don't want to interfere with a coach. I think Scott Frost would be an example. Weren't you the the Philadelphia sandwich? Good to see you again. But I haven't had any deep dish pizza in Chicago, if that's what you wanted to know.
Have you hosted Fred in Lincoln?
No.
Could you expand on those expectations for the program? A little bit, you said to compete in the Big Ten. What about national?
You know, I got into a big fight with Lute Olson one time when I was in the Pac-12, both of us, of course. And he talked about, hey, we got to reduce the number of conference games we play because we need that RPI and we got to get those high seeds. And I said, and I'll say it here, I'll go to my grave, number one objective and goal here at the University of Nebraska under my leadership is to win a Big Ten conference championship in all of our sports. And if you do that, then you're going to be just fine in the postseason. So I want to compete in this conference. President Bounds said it, and I've said it several times. We should be in the upper half in all of our sports on a consistent basis with what we have to offer. And certainly that's what I'm expecting with our men's basketball program as well.
Miles was 9th, I think, in coaching salary this season. What kind of financial commitment are you guys willing to make to a prospective coach?
I'm glad I got back to you today. I thought you were going to be mad. That's the toughest question you're going to give me, Sam? Okay. We can be competitive. We have a program, as you know, that is solvent. We have the ability to pay going rates for top coaches, and I think we've already shown that in some of the hires that have already been made.
Hey, Bill, there was a narrative going around about the level of support Tim got from the administration. Do you think that the athletic department and yourself gave him enough support to be successful?
I sure do. Our budget was competitive, our salaries were competitive, and I'm talking again within the Big Ten, which is how I'm gauging things. Chartered aircraft for team travel, for recruiting. Our recruiting budget is one of the highest in the Big Ten, and it may be because where we're located, that's okay. Administratively, Mark Boehm has done a great job as a to represent me. Head coach answers to me, but on a daily basis, when they needed answers, Mark got those for them. Kept me abreast of things. So, administratively, I can't imagine anything that they may have needed or wanted that they weren't getting.
You mentioned Mark Boehm. Are there going to be any other changes within the basketball side of things within the athletic department?
Mark is not a candidate for the coaching job. We've already had that discussion. You gotta wait until the new coach is hired and see who he may bring if he's an established coach. We certainly have qualified people within our program that I would think across the board would be appealing to a new coach, but it typically depends on if they're going to bring their entire staff or part of it, or whether they want to retain a coach or an operations person, or your video folks or what have you.
Hey, Bill, would you do something, anything differently the last couple of weeks if you go back during this process?
I don't think so. Stayed on top of it pretty well, and and really this is in regards this decision on the overall body of work. Would have loved it if Tim could have came on strong and we finished in good shape, but it didn't happen.
Did you give any consideration to firing him after the retention?
No. No, I read all your stuff. No, and you've heard it. I mean, what would that accomplish? I let coaches finish their seasons. Unless there's a behavioral issue, and those players were starting to rally. They didn't need to lose focus. The assistant coaches were coaching hard. They didn't need to be worrying about their next job or where they were going to be. I don't think there's any advantage to terminating someone while you're still playing.
Have you spoken to the team yet?
No. I wanted Tim, of course, to talk to them and to the assistants. I have talked to one of the assistants. Mark has talked to all of them, and also with all the support staff over there. But I don't know if it's scheduled yet, Mark, but I'm going to meet with the team and then individually with the assistant coaches.
You've always talked about the importance of recruiting players in basketball. As you think about some of the players, not only that are signed on to commit, but a kid like Isaiah Roby who came on toward the end of the season, what do you tell them at this point to maybe help them process this decision and also potentially stay on until you move coach?
Most important thing is to keep going to class, and it's for them. First and foremost, that degree, at the end of the day, when all the rainbows end, that's what you're going to take away from your college experience. So we want to keep our guys in class on top academically. We'll try to move the process so that they, once the coach is hired, the coach has a chance to talk to them, visit with them, hopefully encourage them to stay. And I will, in some cases, talk to players individually to reassure them that we genuinely care about them. Transition as a player is very difficult. Now I'm going to play for someone who didn't recruit me. Maybe it's a different style. There's all these transfer possibilities these days, which I'm not going to get into. And this generation's a little short on patience. I have 5 children of my own and 2 that were college or are now athletes. Calm down and be patient. Many times in the end it turns out for the best.
What else do you value as important? You mentioned the financial support as far as the relationship between the administration and the basketball staff. What do you value to make that work?
Well, I think in this whole department we're a family. We dine together, and my 9 pounds that I've gained in 6 weeks is an example of that. We embrace each other. These are tough decisions. I had asked Pat Logston to contact all of our head coaches about the announcement today because they're a close-knit fraternity. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to coach. I felt as close to men's basketball as I do to any of our programs. My coaches will tell you, as I've told them individually and as a group, I don't go to practice and I don't go into locker rooms. I've done enough of that in my life. I hire and retain coaches to take care of those things. I don't want my chancellor in my staff meeting. I shouldn't be in their practices. That's their space. And at the end of the year, we talk about it and make whatever necessary changes we make. Sometimes it's changing the staff, maybe looking at schedules, maybe a strength coach or a nutritionist or some of the other student services that we have that have some very talented people. And then we go forward, and sometimes in that meeting it's over. So,
Bill, what was Hank Bound's influence in this decision? And going forward, as you make a hire with Bound's announcement yesterday, how does that change your situation with administration?
Administration lets me do my job. At the end of the day, I'm responsible for hiring and terminations. I do obviously keep them in the loop, and if there is any kind of objection, which I've never had, I have to follow protocol there. But Hank, I hate to lose Hank, because I think not only is he a very good leader, he's been a great fan and a great part of this building and this program, in that he genuinely cares. He goes to our events. He goes to practices. I'm somewhat amazed at how he knows our recruits' names and everything else. At the end of the day, I think Hank's a jock. And I think he's really enjoyed his time at Nebraska for a lot of reasons, but I think that our prestige in intercollegiate athletics has been a big piece of that. So he lets me do my job.
When you were talking about football, you were pretty frank that you thought it would take a couple of years to get back from where it was when Riley left it. How long is it going to take for Nebraska basketball to get where you think it can get? How many years do you think it'll take?
Well, it can happen, in my opinion, faster in basketball because of the numbers. I've seen programs go from the outhouse to the penthouse in a year or two by getting that right point guard and maybe that power forward that are few and far between. But it can happen faster in basketball, and I've been a part of programs where that has happened when I had the right person. Football typically going to take a little longer because of how many are on the roster. I understand that we've got a couple of signees that are looking very good, and we've got some commits for 2020 that we're right on top of right away too. We've got to stay on that. Mark's been working in that area. So the talent, we've got to continue to seek the very best talent, and we'll work very hard, and whoever gets this job is going to be a known successful recruiter, and that's extremely important in all of our sports.
Let's take about 2 more for Bill.
You also talk about having a list in your drawer.
Yeah.
At what point during this season did you look at that list, and how many people on that list have you contacted?
There is a list. The drawer is locked. I've inquired about the top 3.
When did you look at it? Like, when did you think, all right, I gotta start?
Well, it's not, I pretty much know what it says on there. So, I mean, only 3 names. I got pretty good retention, Sam. You know, I follow what they're doing. And I've said this before. I started that practice when I was afraid I was going to lose a coach to the pros or to another college program. So I've referred to those lists when I felt I might lose somebody, and I've referred to them when I'm considering making a change. And that list changes. You know, there's up and comers, and there's those that maybe are getting a little long in the tooth and maybe can't be as effective. I say that tongue in cheek, but it's been helpful for me because I don't get caught off guard. And I also expand on that, as I mentioned earlier, about the network that I have and the people that I can trust that in the industry that I've known for anywhere from a year to 40 years. And there's a lot of them in men's basketball.
One more for Bill.
Bill, you talked about recruiting a couple times. Do you prefer 4-year players, bringing kids in as freshmen and having that developmental time, or do you, I guess, like it when there are transfers, when a coach is transfer heavy?
Well, in the perfect world that I grew up in, it's the 4-year player. But times have changed, and if we're going to compete, we're going to have to look at the transfer situation. As long as the transfer situation is the way it is, we got to take advantage of it. It's in my feeling, it's not ideal, but it's the way the basketball world is right now, and so we've got to step in and compete with that. And it's, you know, it's legal. It's all above board, but I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon.